And a brother who passed much too soon, but he had a good turnout.
Yeah. Which is good. When was his funeral?
It happened already.
I know when.
I said.
When did it happen? When?
Oh,
when was
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Right.
So I rest whole day.
Yeah.
Friday. Didn't go to the house.
I don't blame you.
But anyway,
It's a lot.
while we celebrate the passing, we have to celebrate life.
For sure.
So you can go along together?
Yes. So we're very fortunate to have our brother Blema. And I talked to us about part of his life journey in which he's written a book to record it. And I began to read a little of it because I don't really have time to read books, having so much things to do.
Yeah.
But I find it very fascinating and really want to finish it, you know. But he's going to help us out by giving us some insight as to his life journey, you know. And his life journey have a lot to teach us about resilience, about health, and what it meant to live in a world where health has moved from supporting life to making money. Because there was a time when medicine was food-based, herbs. In fact, the great teaching was, let food be a medicine. My problem with that is that medicine don't taste too good. And I love the taste of food. So it's always to find a way where it's good quality food, but don't taste like medicine, but it nourishes the body. What I call the science of eating. And I need to learn, we all need to learn that.
True.
You know, the science of eating. Because we eat all of habits, and some of them are very destructive. Can you imagine? We sit down to having our meal, hot food, ice cold water with ice in it.
I don't.
No.
But that was...
I know that's what people do.
Yes.
I know, and you're just
And drink
you're just
Coca-Cola and wine.
calling up everything. That's what you're just eating inside your stomach.
But we still standing. So
barely, because your body is doing a whole heap to correct it.
the habits,
It's the melanin. It's the melanin that's doing that.
the habits that we've been practicing has done great damage. And the sooner we come to the proper realization about to take care of ourselves in mind, body and spirit and in everything, we'll be on a better footing. So Brother Blema is here to help us along that way. So I won't say anything further. I'll just hand over to him, and he's going to be doing a brief presentation, but he really wants to get into a conversation to be on the journey with it.
Thanks for kind. Yeah, my name's Blema, Blema Etrey. Actually, one of my main kind of passions has been dancing, and I've been dancing in many kind of TV shows and adverts and kind of featured up for Channel 4, Comedy Central. I started off kind of dancing mainly for fun as a hobby, and then I kind of got into doing music videos with George Michael, and so dancing's kind of been a very big part of my life, and part of the reason why I put dancing in the title, because I'm kind of so passionate about that. But yeah, the book is about my kind of spiritual and life journey, and basically coming to like a deeper realization, or trying to find the deeper meaning to why I had so many kind of extremely traumatic life experiences. So that, how can I say, that's kind of taken me a lifetime to understand, and it wasn't really till I got to about 50, which was when the first lockdown happened, that I started to kind of have some insight into my past and to why things have kind of happened in the way they've happened, and what the kind of reason is behind them. And then because my life was so kind of traumatic, I particularly in the lockdown, when people were going through a lot of kind of issues in trying to deal with the things that were happening in the world, and people kind of being stopped from working. And I saw that as a time to use my kind of past to uplift people. So I kind of put out a post on Facebook, which was just a little bit of my journey. And then from that, I got a really, really good response. And many people kind of commented on it and said they found that really, really uplifting. So as a result, I kind of decided to write a book. So yeah, that happened in 2020, and then I wrote the book and then published it 2023. So it took a while to kind of process my past and then kind of start writing about it. But yeah, that's kind of the beginning of kind of how things kind of started, and then how I got into putting it out there, and my kind of inspiration to do the book. So, but yeah, basically through my kind of life experience, and then because I had so many, how can I say, like health problems. So I kind of found that I needed to look deeper into why I still kind of had health issues over the time I was basically, when I kind of came out of the cult that I was put into as a child. So that took a long time as well, kind of recovering from that. But basically, yeah, I was put into a spiritual cult as a child, and then my mother murdered when I tried to come out of that cult. And then, yeah, I went through kind of...
Your mother?
My mother was murdered.
Oh, was murdered.
Was
okay.
murdered, yeah, in trying to kind of come out of that. So I think I kind of went through paralysis, homelessness. So
can I start? Are we talking about this country?
This country, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the cult was kind of based in this country. Sorry? I speak up, yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, the cult was based in this country, but what I would say is that in history, or back when back in the 70s, because I'm 53 now, so back at that time when I was kind of put into this cult in secret, there wasn't a lot of information. So now you have the internet, and there's a kind of a lot more information which has come out online, which is easily accessible. So as a black person back in the 70s, there wasn't really a lot of information online. So you were kind of at a whim, or it's very difficult to discern what was good and what was bad in terms of groups, in terms of religious groups and spiritual groups. So because of that, I think is partly where the problem kind of started. But yeah, now there's a lot more information. But what I would say is that in terms of the world, in a way, the world is kind of like in its own cult. And that's kind of what I kind of found out over years in trying to heal. I kind of recognized that a lot of the issues and problems that are in society, I kind of began to feel that they're there for not really a positive reason. And a lot of society's kind of problems are kind of, in a way, kind of deliberately there, because like the larger corporations, they, like the pharmaceutical industry, they don't actually make money unless we're actually sick. So in trying to heal from my kind of past, these kind of issues became a lot clearer. Yeah, and that took quite some time. One other thing that I would say is that in terms of our kind of mental functioning, we have like a subconscious and unconscious, and in terms of the deeper nature of society and how it's controlled, I think that they use a lot more kind of subliminal messages and kind of subconscious programming. So through like our media, television, and kind of schools, and then music and film, a lot of the kind of messages in those things are, particularly in the black community, I think are very negative, or have become or been guided in a negative direction as the years have kind of gone on. So one particular example I could use in, say, hip hop. In the 90s, it was kind of a lot more spiritually conscious, and then as time's gone on, that's kind of come down and down and down until now it's kind of very, very negative and kind of promotes more things which don't uplift humanity. So it's been a kind of learning journey about that, and the fact that if we don't program ourselves kind of mentally, physically, with kind of good information, then society will kind of program us through media and television, like program our subconscious with kind of negative messages. And I think that particularly is important with the next generation and the youth, and I can kind of see that is kind of impacting them in a kind of negative way. So part of my journey, I think, has allowed me to be a lot clearer on that, and then a lot clearer on the fact that if we don't do something about it, somehow stop these kind of issues, that humanity is going to kind of keep going down. Black culture and the black people will become more negative. So yeah, writing the book, I started to kind of recognize these things and recognize that I really need to speak out. And from my actual past, I felt that it had something to offer people, to see, have a kind of perspective on where society is at and how they can either protect themselves or educate themselves so they kind of don't fall victim to the issues that I kind of had in my life, but also don't kind of fall victim to negativity and to their lives going in a very negative kind of spiral, negative direction. So yeah, that's a little bit about why I wrote the book and how I feel it may be able to help people. On top of that, what I would say, or in relevance to what I was saying about the pharmaceutical industry, they basically don't, or in trying to kind of heal, I kind of recognize that the pharmaceutical industry and the mainstream kind of health industry, they couldn't really help me so much. I became kind of paralyzed, and their kind of answer to me was, well, they didn't have an answer to me. They basically said that I was going to remain paralyzed for the rest of my life and I wouldn't walk again.
Paralyzed?
Yeah, because I couldn't walk. So, and that was from...
I'll explain what happened while you couldn't walk.
Yeah, if I go into the details of that, it's kind of what I've written about in the book, about my being brought up in the cult and being brainwashed. And
the cult that you were brought up in,
yeah.
is it a cult that your parents or your mother took you into?
Yeah, without kind of giving away too much information that's in the book, but yeah, my mother was kind of manipulated. So my mother was from Jamaica, my father's from Ghana, and at that time, my mother was quite an intelligent person, but on some level, or on a very deeper level, she was kind of open to manipulation. And at that kind of time, I think there wasn't really a lot of information about how kind of narcissistic people can manipulate people very cleverly. And because of that, that's kind of how I kind of got put into the cult. And then also, I think, possibly in the black community as well, I think we're a little bit more, I don't know if naive is exactly the right word, but when people kind of say they're kind of godly, then or they're kind of monks or priests, then some people tend to kind of give their kind of trust and be very open to them.
Gullible.
Yeah, a little bit gullible. Yeah, and although my mother was kind of a very intelligent person, she was a teacher, on certain levels, the issues around that, religion and spirituality, she was kind of open to manipulation on. And I think some people are kind of gullible around those particular areas, because maybe we put certain people on a pedestal and in the limelight if they say that they're highly spiritual or they have very kind of good spiritual practices, and then they can kind of get round us. And that's basically how my mother was.
Stay outside. Tell them to try again. Tell them to stay outside.
That's a little bit of how my mother was kind of manipulated in the first instances. But as time went on, the brainwashing was a lot deeper, and the kind of ways in which they had of getting around her were very deep as well, because their knowledge of spirituality and using brainwashing, torture, was kind of very deep on those kind of issues. But what I would say is that in coming out of that, it's kind of taken me many, many years. But yeah, my kind of self-care and kind of health practices, I've had to kind of develop over a number of years in order to come out of that kind of past trauma.
So what made you paralysed? What paralysed you?
Basically, at the time I did like a somersault. I landed fine, but because my body was already very tight inside, then the space between my hips snapped, and then my hips kind of moved like 2 or 3 inches up my back, and that left me, in the first instance I could walk, but because I was doing like a show, I think it was at the Drum and Bass Music Awards at the time, and the adrenaline was going, so that evening I could walk, but by the time I woke up the next day, then moving even 7-8 feet was incredible pain.
So this happened when you was doing a show?
This happened when I was doing a show, but there was a build up to that, to be honest, of abuse in my earlier life. Basically physical abuse, sexual abuse, and then spiritual abuse as well. And yeah, what I would say is that about cults, they particularly are good at manipulating people to either follow like the leader, who is kind of put on a pedestal as this kind of god. And then if you're put into that from a child, it's a lot easier to be brainwashed and manipulated. What I would say is that also a lot of the things that happened to me were in secret, so my mother didn't see. A lot of the talks that we were given, things to do, that was all in secret by the kind of cult leader. So yeah, it's been a very long journey.
So how old were you when you got involved in the cult?
Maybe 4 years old. Yeah, so very, very, very young. So from that age, to be honest, most children don't really come out of that. And then if they do come out of that, then mentally, from the abuse, they're just not going to be together. And then the normal kind of health industry and the things that are put in place to try and help someone like that, they're just not enough. They're not going to be deep enough. And a lot of the time, in a way, they're kind of not interested in a way. It's just too much for them. So
Give some pills.
yeah, which isn't really gonna solve anything. So yeah, it's been a very long journey, but over that time I've kind of found out a number of different things about health. One really important thing I found out was by this guy called Dr. Emoto, and he did like a test with water, and that test, he basically froze water and then got his kind of students to say negative things to one kind of bottle of water and then positive things to the other bottle of water, and then he took samples from those two bottles and looked at them underneath a microscope, and the negative bottle of water, like the structure was completely deformed, and in the positive bottle of water, the things which his students had said very positive things to was like in a perfect crystalline structure. So
Same experiment they did with food.
there's some experiment. Yeah. So I've also heard about that as well. I think with plants as well. They've done kind of a similar experiment and found that the plant which was talked to in a negative way over weeks, it kind of died, and the other part kind of grew. So yeah, these types of things have helped me develop a lot more kind of better self-care, better inner dialogue with myself, and those types of things, like having a very good inner dialogue, that will basically allow us to kind of program our own kind of subconscious mind, and then what we'll kind of get back in our daily life, I think, is a lot more positive. And from my life and from healing from my past, that's allowed me to have a lot more like a positive outlook, and to bring a lot more positivity into my daily life, so that I can kind of grow in a positive direction. And without like a good inner dialogue, those things are kind of impossible. And I think through things like media, TV, music, it's so negative, and it kind of promotes having a very negative dialogue, that the next generation can't really grow in a very positive way if they are continuously listening to that and surrounded by that. So yeah, it's my past, or in using my past and writing the book and processing my past, it's allowing me to kind of transmute the past and then develop things, information which I can kind of use to help myself and help other people. So yeah, it's been a very long journey.
How was your mother murdered?
To be honest, I don't want to go into too many details of that.
Is it in the book?
It's in the book.
So how old was you then?
I was much older. So that age, I think I was around 34.
Okay.
Yeah, but coming out of that, to be honest, I came out of the cult when I was much younger. But then,
What age?
maybe 16. But then over that time, being brainwashed from all of the things which happened to me, that took, to be honest, up to my mother's murder, and then beyond, in order to kind of recover mentally. So the journey was very, very, very long. I think one very important thing I found out about, or kind of had like a spiritual awakening in 2020, was in the use of my kind of intuition and gut feeling. So one thing which some kind of high level cults do is that through their kind of brainwashing and programming, they get you to kind of negate your own kind of gut feelings and intuition, and then that allows them to have access to you and to control you in any way, shape or form, to what they kind of want to do with you, or what they want you to do to yourself. So yeah, kind of following my intuition and gut feeling, I got kind of a lot better at, and that kind of goes into what people would call being psychic or psychic power, those type of abilities. But to be honest, intuition is really, to be honest, mainly about having a gut feeling and following that. I know that kind of women and mothers particularly are a lot more in tune with having an intuition. Like if they know that or have a feeling something is wrong with their child or is going to happen to their child, and that child's thousands of miles away, sometimes they'll just have like an inner knowing that something is wrong and they need to contact them. So the development of that, I think I've got a lot clearer on, and clearer in trying to use that in every element of my life. And to be honest, it's something that I've actually been teaching in schools to young people, because I teach dance, but I was also teaching kind of self-defense for a while, and in that time to kind of young women and girls, and in that time I kind of pointed out that intuition and gut feeling are kind of the first kind of ports of call you have to kind of defending yourself. So if you have like a gut feeling or intuition, whatever it is about the people around you or the people who are coming in close proximity to you, then you should really follow those things, and in order to protect yourself before much more negative things happen. So those types of things I didn't really learn about till I was much older. But having a very good intuition is also, and having a very strong intuition and gut feeling is part of the reason why I kind of came out of the cult in a way. But yeah, it's been a long journey. In terms of other kind of types of self-care, kind of meditation I use, also like training my body, training flexibility and mobility, and then also nutrition, because basically what you eat, if it's kind of junk food, this closes down the actual body, which helps to close down your gut feeling and actually helps to close down your intuition. So a lot of the fast food which is actually being put out there is actually having a very negative effect on intuition and people's gut feeling and their kind of natural modes of guiding themselves in society and the world. So for me now, when I actually teach dancing or teach self-defense, I kind of point these things out, because it's really important for the next generation, because fast food is pushed so much by society and the people at the top. So not eating it or eating hardly any of it is kind of one of my types of self-care that I kind of use, and eating nutritiously as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about my story and life. Yeah, so if you have any kind of questions, I'll be very willing to answer.
I was thinking about, you say you're involved in the cult from when you were about 4,
Yeah.
came out of it when you were about 16,
Yeah.
you was introduced by your parents,
Yeah.
and obviously in that kind of situation, as a young person,
Yeah.
you have to go by the rule, by the older people around you.
Yeah.
So when you came out at 16, or
Yeah.
when you were able to come out at 16,
Yeah.
what were you doing in terms of your career?
Yeah. At that time I was at school, so I would study like GCSEs. And to be honest, the cult basically, without telling too much of what's in the book, because the cult basically had their own ideas about the way they wanted you to live your life, what they wanted you to do with your life, and a big part of that was not being successful. So you're not allowed to.
Not being successful.
Yeah,
Progress
big
in
part.
any way.
Yeah, be successful in any way, or to be
Who's
honest,
running this cult?
Pardon?
Who's running this cult?
it was run by a Jewish, like kind of Russian Jew.
No.
Yeah, and the leader of the cult was actually in India. So she came from, or she went, I think, to see him in India, and then came and ran the cult in the UK.
So was it your mother, your parents who introduced you to this?
My dad.
Your father?
Yeah, so my dad, introduced my mother to that. But at the very beginning, like the details of the cult, she didn't know anything about. All she knew was that the cult is spiritual and they follow God. That's kind of what she would have been told. So the deeper aspects and the things which were happening to me, she had no idea of. So over time.
But your mum was a teacher. That is success for a black woman to become a teacher.
Yeah, but for the children were basically told that they're not allowed to be successful. But even that was also over time, so it wasn't immediate. So.
Is she a teacher in the cult or a teacher?
No, a teacher outside. Yeah,
okay.
just like a teacher. Yeah.
What was her subject of much interest?
Accounting.
Accounting.
Yeah. And then she started her own college and helped a lot of people come from abroad over here.
That's successful.
It is, yeah. But basically the cult, how can I say, it's like they have a lot of kind of deep techniques of brainwashing people, brainwashing the actual children. And perhaps I think because my mother was successful, she thought that what she kind of got from that success, she would be able to financially kind of help me or help any kind of offspring she had. So if they perhaps, it is successful. But to be honest, my father had the biggest kind of influence in decisions in the family.
What was his career?
My father, he lectured in economics. Yeah, he lectured in economics and then business as well. So I think a big part of the actual cult is negating your innate kind of passions. I think with myself, I'm a dancer, and that was really negated in the cult. So I wasn't really, so all of that was in secret. Me dancing, even up to the level of performing on TV. My mother, to be honest, she was like, she was going along with my father, but when she would see me dancing and be so uplifted and joyous, she couldn't kind of help but like be thankful for that or enjoy me doing that. She couldn't help but feel happy that I was doing that. But
it was against her religion.
It was against what the cult
or the
said.
faith.
Yeah,
So-called.
Yeah, going to like a high level in doing that, and then also not just a high level in dancing, but a high level in like dancing from the kind of black culture. So if I'd gone to like
naturally rhythmic.
Yeah, so all those things in the cult were kind of negated because being naturally doing anything natural is going to put you in, how can I say, it's going to put you in touch with your intuition and gut feeling. Yeah. So they had knowledge of that. So
you say, sorry, I'm getting confused.
Yeah, sure.
With this Russian.
Yeah.
White Russian.
Yeah. So
they know more about African history than even Africans do.
Yeah. So and that's the thing, maybe because they know more about us in that way.
So it's definitely control.
Yeah, then it's controlled. And that cult is still active now.
Really?
They're still active now.
What's it called?
You need to tell us so we can warn people.
Yeah. They're basically the cult. Yeah,
I won't be enticed.
Yeah, so
I won't be enticed.
So that actual cult, what I would say is that cult is like a group with inside another group which has split away from the main group. So say you have Islam, then you have another group within inside Islam called Sufism. And Sufism, that's a lot of things, but inside Sufism, they're not even accepted in the Islamic faith. So people who are traditionally Islamic, sometimes they are, sometimes people who are Islamic are open to that, Sufism, and sometimes they're not. But inside Sufism and this kind of group, there was like another sect within inside that. So it's like a
breakaway groups and organisations,
Yeah.
isn't there?
Yeah.
There's that person, is it in Trinidad or Guyana, where they followed this man and killed
Mass
themselves.
suicide. They had a mass suicide.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but do you?
But they put him as a Jesus.
Yeah.
And they all basically, because I think there's going to be infiltrated. I think there was coming to, mash up the cult, because it was on an island, isn't it? And basically they drank something and poisoned themselves.
They killed.
Children. That's what they poisoned. Yeah.
Your mother, as an intelligent woman, didn't she suss what was going on and pull out,
did,
no matter what her husband said?
She did suss, but it's like the sussing didn't happen until, how can I say? That didn't happen until someone tried to commit suicide, who was connected to her, and
Who was in the cult?
who was a child. Yeah, and to be honest, I've kind of tried to hide a little bit of that information, because it's like if I allow that person's identity to come out and they haven't really healed from that past, it's hard for them to, how can I say, they won't be able to kind of deal with it. It's like for me now, I'm speaking out about this, and it's taken many years to process everything and then put it in a form where I can speak out and tell people. It's taken a long time, and to be honest, part of the reason why that's taken so long is because people were around me or came around me after I left the cult, after my mother's murder, who were still connected to the cult. So they would send people, and those people would either try to connect with me, try to be my friend, to kind of guide me away from...
To find out what you was doing, basically.
Yeah, to find out what I was doing, and then also perhaps so that I did... To bring me back in, yeah, that's happened as well. So they've kind of asked me to come back to them, and I haven't done that. So yeah, it's been a very long journey.
Is that still happening? And do you feel your life's threatened?
Yes and no. So yes, the cult is still going on. And it's not necessarily always based in this country. So elements of that, parts of that cult will be based in other countries, like say America.
So this is an international cult?
International, yeah.
Is the name of the cult in the book?
The name of the cult is in the book. But to be honest, it was based on Sufism. But I wouldn't say every Sufi group is like a cult like this one, because this is like a breakaway from inside what Sufism is. But it's like you find members who were going to be possibly in Sufism who might be connected to this, or you may even find members who don't actually know what...
I don't know what Sufism is, to tell
Okay,
the truth.
Sufism, yeah.
Can you explain?
It's like another like spiritual sect or spiritual kind of path, and it's supposed to be the path of love.
Which countries?
Eastern.
Yeah, so India kind of practice that, and that's where the leader of the cult that I was in, where he was kind of based. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey. Talking about it now is, it feels good to talk about it. It feels good to talk about it with people who were interested to know that. Because for many years I was told, even by healers around me, that no one would be interested in anything I had to say about it.
Wow.
So for years that's kind
It's
of what
obligation then, isn't it?
Yeah, for years I believed that. So the healers who I think were put around me, they were probably still connected to these people to say such negative things. So it's taken a long time coming out and speaking about it, but
Is it because of fear?
Initially, partly because of that, but then also because the cult are kind of very good at isolating people, and in my head, I actually felt no one was going to be interested. I felt no one would be interested in anything that's happened to me, basically because of how I was brought up and its effect on me, effect on my mental health.
Are you an only child?
And that part, I'm not really sure what I should say. I'm not an only child.
So whilst that was happening, were your brothers or your sisters were part of that cult as well? And how they dealt with the situation?
Yeah, and to be honest, that part, it's difficult to. So that's not been easy.
So with the cult, is it like your mother didn't have one partner? Was it a mixture of things, like everybody kind of in together when whoever they fancied to go with, they went with? Was it that kind of thing?
Partly, yeah. Part of that is.
You said something about love, didn't you? Was it free love?
Not really in that sense. It's more a sense of they kind of brainwash you to I like everything is kind of upside down. So you're kind of brainwashed. In a way, it's more like kind of Satanism, or on like a deeper level, like a very deep level of kind of black magic. So you're brainwashed to think that you need to suffer, or that's kind of what you're told as a child, that you need to suffer in every way manageable, and that's going to bring you closer to God. So from that kind of brainwashing, as a child, then you're completely open to any type of abuse.
But your mother shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, but because basically a lot of that is in secret, your mother's not going to see that. So all of the talking which is done to you as a child by the kind of cult leader, that was all in secret.
So did you live in a compound, or do you live an ordinary life
outside?
And then
be taken to the cult?
How can you separate the two? How can you live an ordinary life from work and then in the evening you go to this?
Yeah.
How can you?
Yeah. Basically, because if you're taken into a cult as a child, and you're brainwashed as a child, it's very easy to program you. To program
I'm
you.
talking about your mother. She.
But I suppose
she goes to work.
She does all those things. Yeah.
And then she goes back into. Then she goes into that.
Not all the time. So my mother would have gone to see the cult leader, not every day, maybe maybe twice a month, maybe sometimes more. Sometimes
it's like church, but for the child it's worse.
Yeah,
because she's not seeing what's happening to the children.
Yeah.
And she's not witnessing or experiencing what's happening to the child or the children.
Yeah.
You're not
so it's almost like the children are being manipulated from the parents into, it's like it's a separate entity for the children.
Yeah.
But the parents are in a different thing, thinking they think it's like a church kind of thing, like everything's okay.
Sunday school.
But
exactly
the children are suffering.
Yeah, the children are being kind of guided in a negative direction.
And abused.
Then, and abused. And then the cult leader is kind of telling the parents, or my parent, that everything is okay, everything is fine, they're developing fine. But
so was you looked after in a school kind of capacity?
No.
Like all together there?
No. So basically, I live with my mum and dad, and just like any other family. So I wasn't kind of living in like a commune
campus or
way,
anything like that.
ways.
So is it like a Sunday school that all the children attended to kind of thing, or?
Yeah, it wasn't really Sunday. It could be any particular day, and then you'd be kind of taken to this kind of group meeting in North London, and then the leader would say these things and those things, and then we'd be taken to individually, or would be sent individually, and then the leader would say certain things to us to do, not to do, ways to think.
Is it just boys?
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls, yeah. So by a certain age, a number of the children would commit suicide. So
Is it mainly black, or is it a mixture?
the worst things that seem to happen to people seem to be black people. The worst abuse in the cult, yeah.
It's in North London, you say? Because there's a lot of Jewish people up this side, isn't there?
Yeah.
Is it those people?
North London. But with Jewish people, you have people who are like Orthodox, I think. Yeah, and then you have Orthodox Jews, and then you have people who are not Orthodox Jews. So the leader of this cult was not an Orthodox Jew in the sense that she didn't wear traditional kind of Jewish.
But the women don't. The woman is just
Jewish don't get
that's true. It's the men who wear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The women wear ordinary clothes, don't they?
Yeah, but they don't get involved in those things.
Well, we don't know about what they get involved in. But in terms of appearance,
Yeah.
they're just women.
Yeah.
But the men know,
But you see all the heads.
They got their little uniforms.
very identifiable. No, the name we're trying to remember about Diana is Jim Jones.
Jim Jones, that's right. And it's Diana.
Yeah, and the thing about it is always these white people at the top who brings up people in under this cult
Yeah.
for total destruction.
Yes. Because it looks like these people want to destroy young people and young black people.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
could it because they know that young people or black people are the original people?
Yeah, they have a lot more knowledge. They
Have a lot more knowledge about us,
Yeah,
and so they want to destroy us, and they're going about it by destroying the children.
First, because that is going to kind of destroy us at the root.
Yes.
If they
Yeah.
do that.
So the question is, what attract people to this cult? How do people get involved?
How do you get involved with it?
Through my dad. So
No, but if I want to join,
How was it
how
set
do-
up?
How do I go
Because
about
we need
it?
to know,
yeah,
we're going to read the book,
yeah,
but we need to know,
yeah,
so we, as our good sister said, to warn our people
yeah,
as to the dangers,
yeah.
how to identify with it, and how not to get involved with it.
What's the name of
Without
it?
that knowledge, we won't know.
Yeah.
Well, Sufism
It's-
is different. What you're saying, Sufism is different in terms of this practice, as my knowledge.
It is, but what you're going to find is that even within Sufism, you're going to have many groups who practice Sufism, many groups around the world, and within certain groups, this is going to be going on.
So is this different?
It's
Is it the only thing that? What's the name? Is it the only thing that's called this?
Yeah, so that is the name they use. So they would call themselves Sufis, but then within the sect that I was in, these other kind of practices were going on. So the leader was guiding us in a completely kind of evil direction to kind of
Opposite
destroy,
way,
to destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Self-annihilation.
yeah, and I, to be honest, I know that are there going to be other leaders inside the Sufi kind of groups who know what's gone on? They know what's kind of gone on.
They do.
Yeah, there's going to be, because how would they send people after me? I know that they sent people to connect with me, and just from my
They're not people from the group that you was in.
they're not from people from the group I was in. So they sent people to connect with me, to talk with me, to try to bring me back into Sufism, into the whole thing, Sufism as a whole. And I think they don't know that I know that, but because I have a very good gut feeling, intuition, it's very very easy for me to see through them. Because of the life I've had, I'm going to see those signs when you approach me. And
you're going to feel it.
Yeah, you're going to feel it.
I'm just concerned, your father, how did he get involved with it?
Yeah, so basically my father was not a good person. My father's like an evil person, and he was connected in Africa to cults which were evil. But in the UK, this is a lot deeper. It's like the brainwashing is a lot deeper, and it's a lot purer in sense of what they can do to you as a child. Whereas in the cult, in Africa, they may be sacrificing children, this type of thing. But in the UK, it's going to be a lot more deeper. The hell's going to be a lot deeper. To be honest, being sacrificed as a child is probably going to be easier than kind of living the kind of life I would have led. If I'd kind of known what was going to happen to me, being sacrificed at that age, being sacrificed as a child, I probably wouldn't have minded. So it's like it got to 2020 and I found a way to kind of transmute that negativity and turn it into something positive by writing the book and now coming here to speak with you about it. Otherwise, mentally, I couldn't really function properly. Some part of me would not be connected enough to really make things work in my life. So yeah, doing the book and speaking about it has been very healing for me. So
do you dream of your mother?
Constantly, yeah. My mother, very difficult to talk about. But yeah, my mother is like, she's like kind of my heart, so.
So when you say your mom was murdered, did they find out who murdered her?
All of this was kind of hidden. So, like my mother's best friend at the time, she knew that they were planning to do that.
Your mother's best friend?
My mother's best friend. She's
part of the cult?
My mother's best friend was not part of the cult. She was completely outside of that. And how can I say, the warning signs were that someone tried to commit suicide and they were a child who'd grown up in the cult. I don't want to kind of give that person's identity.
That's fine.
But my mother was very involved in helping that person from a child to an adult. So when that adult tried to commit suicide by starvation, it was at that point that my mother then realized, it's how everything is evil that this cult is based around, and I need to kind of leave. I need to kind of get out of this cult. I need to get my child out of this cult.
Did she still write to your dad?
And that was when she tried to divorce. And it was at that time that my mother probably shouldn't have alerted my dad to the fact that she wanted to move away. But that was when my family began to really split, and my mother tried to divorce my dad. And then that kind of led to her murder after that. It was a little bit after that. And a little bit after that adult who tried to commit suicide, after she nurtured him back to health, that she was kind of murdered after that in trying to leave the cult, leave my dad. So
did anyone ever get charged for it?
No. But the thing is, they know that I'm speaking out. They know that I'm...
So your life is threatened, or is likely to be threatened?
Yes, but I think with this cult, because they're like a very pure form, and that I have gone out of the brainwashing, then it's not their kind of way. Their kind of way is to brainwash you from a child. You commit suicide, they get like an evil gratification from that. They get the energy, the negative energy of doing that. And yeah, so for them to kind of come and like threaten you on a kind of one-to-one physical, I don't think they're going to do that. because it's not their kind of way. To my knowledge, it's not their way. But to be honest, I don't know. Since I've started to speak out about it.
How long has that been?
Sorry?
How long has that been?
How long is?
Since you started to speak out.
I started to speak out 2020. And I started to speak out 2020. I put a post out about it. But yeah, I started to speak out then. And then now I've written a book. I know they're gonna know. Well, they already know about that, and so yeah, I suppose my life could be threatened. That is true, but to be honest, because I've lost the things that I most care about, like my mum, I don't really have much to lose.
What do you do for your life?
Well, I do have my life to lose, but to be honest, it's like I want to do something positive, and I need to, in order to heal from the past, I needed to put this information out to help people, and I felt like because I have like a conscience, if I don't do it,
You'll be suffering.
Yeah,
You'll be suffering.
yeah, I need to kind of speak out. So yeah, that's a little bit.
And also, we've got to be aware of the real. We are in the time of revelation. You know, lots of things are being revealed. Lots of things have been kept hidden.
Yeah.
It's now being revealed. You know, so coming here and listening to you.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised of the revelation.
Okay.
I'm surprised of the detail. Yeah, in terms of what you've actually gone through.
Yeah.
But as a revelation, in terms of spiritual practices, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your dad to do with the death of your mum?
Yeah, he's connected to that and her murder. So, and he's actually dead now.
Your dad is dead.
He's dead. Yeah. Mum. Yeah.
How did he die?
He died very badly, very badly of a certain type of cancer. Yeah.
He suffered.
Yeah, he deeply suffered.
How could somebody do what he did and not suffer? Do you know what I mean? You can't do the cruel things that you do to people.
Yeah.
And expect to get away with it. You know what I mean? You do suffer, and I think, you know, where we are in terms of the environment that we live in, people are suffering. And unfortunately we're caught up with that, but I'm hoping that our spirituality will take us out of the hellish stuff. You know. Some, not all of us, but some of us.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of more knowledge now. There's more knowledge online, a little bit more about spiritual groups, and also kind of fake spiritual groups as well. There's kind of more knowledge about that. But still, it's not necessarily easy to not necessarily be taken in and manipulated. But yeah, there is a lot more knowledge than was out in the 70s. So in the 70s, very difficult time in that sense. A lot more easy to be manipulated than it is now. So yeah.
You've got homelessness on the front of your book, and you've also got New Age cults abuse. Well, you talked about that.
Yeah.
That would be like a New Age cult. But what about the homelessness? You've made homeless?
Yeah, I went through homelessness. Yeah, I went through homelessness because basically kind of coming out of the cult, and then recovering from not being able to walk, and then, to be honest, in the dialogue about my past, I kind of still felt that I was evil, because that was to do with my brainwashing. So, and then my mother being murdered, being able to cope with that kind of wiped me out mentally, and I wasn't able to cope with life. So, falling into homelessness, performing as a dancer is already very difficult. I can kind of be up and down financially, and dealing with that past, my mother's murder, and losing, to be honest, what I love most in the world. I was really, really close to my mother, so that sent me into homelessness, just because I couldn't really cope with life. I couldn't really, And then the anger that was there from the abuse and what had happened to my mother, the fact that she'd been murdered, and wanting to kind of, to be honest, get revenge. And the anger around that, it just meant that I couldn't mentally function very well, and that led me into homelessness. Yeah, that led me into homelessness.
Where in London?
In London, yeah. I was at a charity eventually called Crisis, and then another charity called Camden Winter Shelter. But going through that, to be honest, being on the street was actually a lot safer than being in a charity. Yeah.
What year that happened?
So
what year that happened?
That happened, I think, around 2011. Yeah, 2011. So, yeah, the experiences I had in coming out of homelessness and going into the system and accommodation, those basically homelessness, being on the street was a lot safer than the actual accommodation which you were given by charities. Was full of criminals, so really dangerous. So dangerous that you'd be better on the street. Better on the street.
I've heard that said before.
Yeah, you'd be better on the street.
That's why there's so much homelessness, because you wonder why don't they go to these
charities or shelters. Yeah, because basically
like
when you go into those shelters, you'll be put. It's like if you get accommodation, you'll be put in a place which is going to be full of criminals, number one, and then there's going to be a lot of criminal activity. So there may be drug dealing, prostitution, rape, murder around you.
But on the advert it shows you a young boy having his own room.
It shows you that. But when you go to those places, that accommodation, what's the criminal activity which will take place around you will be everything from murder, rape, excessive drug use, all those things will be going on around you.
Yeah, because you have a house, don't you? You'll have a house, but you
only
have a room.
You only have a room.
It's shared housing, so you'd have to share like the bathroom, you have to share the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know,
even if you have your own room, it's still too dangerous.
You get your door kicked in.
Yeah, you get your door kicked in. Or threatened as you come out of your door, threatened by other occupants who
might not like you, don't like your face.
Yeah, mate, and because if you want to go straight and narrow, and they're going in this direction,
you get teased.
Yeah, you're going to be seen as you're going to be bullied straight away. So it's very, very, very dangerous. So being on the street was a lot easier, a lot better.
Because you're only dealing with yourself.
Yeah.
Did you have a dog?
I didn't have a dog.
But that's a companion, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Gosh, it sounds really woo.
Yeah, long journey. The book's 17.99. Yeah, long journey.
What message do you have for young people?
Message for young people, definitely stay with your gut feeling, intuition, try and follow that as you go through life. It will kind of guide you, help to guide you in a positive direction, help to take you out of life and death scenarios. Try and stay away from, or try and surround yourself with positive people, and try and develop a good inner dialogue with yourself, which is positive. Also try and connect with nature. Try not to be always on your phone or always on a computer. I think things like nature is a lot more of a healthy way of helping your health to progress and be aligned with positivity. One thing I would say, like with trees, is that, or nature, is that when you touch trees, they have like a grounding effect. So they de-stress you, they take away inflammation, and they help you get a better sleep just from, say, touching a tree or grounding yourself in nature for maybe 20 minutes a day. Yeah, so, and then also the positive charge from things like phones and Wi-Fi, that is actually destroying the body on certain levels. So when you connect with nature and ground yourself in nature, it kind of has a positive effect on them and stops that. So I definitely say connect with nature more. Try and not be online all the time. Try and also connect with other positive people. Connect with other humans on a day-to-day level instead of in front of a computer screen. But yeah, those are some of the things I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that you get caught up in this at age 4.
4 years old, yeah.
Those are very valuable age.
Yeah.
So that child will not have any good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I was listening and I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing, you know, because at 4,
Yeah.
Just a
you don't know. But the thing is,
valuable.
what question I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
while I was,
Yeah.
whilst you was involved, did you ever feel
Yeah.
that
all the time.
it's not right for you?
All the time. So from 4 years old,
Okay.
I had like gut feelings and intuition, dreams, nightmares, just constantly.
That it wasn't right.
Yeah, constantly. Everything I was being told. I was constantly having dreams and intuition that it's all wrong.
Yeah.
But then the cult is negating all of that. So
you engaged the battle with yourself all the time.
Yeah.
I asked you just now about the question asked that is that do you ever dream
Constantly.
your mum?
Yeah. So to be honest.
And I just wondered what dreams have you had in relation to your mum?
But basically, it's like I feel like my mum's guiding me to do this. So
Okay. So she's actually there to protect you.
Yeah. So now that's kind of what I feel. Without saying I kind of speak to my mum, but in a way I do. I have that kind of dialogue, and I feel like my mum is guiding me to do this and to put this out, and that she's happy that I'm doing it. So I constantly dream of my mum and constantly feel that I'm going in the right direction and that this is what she would want me to do as well.
You don't dream of your dad?
I have had dreams of my dad.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've been very, very negative. So the dreams I had of my dad are that he's very angry that I'm doing what I'm doing. I was supposed to commit suicide. I haven't done that. So he's like in a rage over that. And also that I had like a spiritual contract before I came into this life, which I was supposed to commit suicide. And that's what I see in the dreams of him. And that's what he says to me. I had a spiritual contract to commit suicide and die in this kind of way. And I haven't done that. So he's in a rage about it. And that's the dream I have of him. But to be honest, that dream is so powerful. It's like, I feel more that that's actually him energetically. Because to be honest, energy, it doesn't really die. Although physically we die, I think that energy doesn't die. And through kind of meditation or through dreams, when we kind of go into an altered state, I think we can kind of become more connected with that realm, which I know some people will say is a little bit crazy, but
the culture, that's part of our culture.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like writing this book. It's been like a journey from kind of the negative spirituality which was around me all the way back to kind of myself.
Your true self.
Yeah, my true self. So having that kind of dreams of my mother and that kind of energetic connection that I feel now, being in tune with her, I feel like, that's almost, to be honest, like what people call African spirituality, although I haven't really studied African spirituality.
It's inborn.
Yeah,
it's
so
universal.
Yeah, so that has kind of come out of me, and in that coming out of me, it meant that I had to break away from the people who still wanted to negate that, which are lots of people. So even so-called healers around me, they wanted to stop all of that, and probably because they maybe had connections with the cult, or I don't want to see kind of black people rise, or maybe they don't want to see anyone rise. Some people are negative minded, but yeah. So it's been a journey in a way back to, how can I say, like venerating my ancestors in sense of well, in sense of starting at the beginning of that, which would be my mum.
Mm-hmm. Do you know which area in Jamaica your mum came from?
Yeah, my mum came from Port Antonio.
Antonio.
Yeah, Port Antonio in Jamaica. I went there once when I was 5. She took me there once.
Okay.
But my actual family on that side, my Jamaican side of my family, there was like a split because my mum married an African guy. And there was sometimes, Jamaicans and Africans, there's this kind of split between us.
Well, you're told you're African.
Yeah, all this,
all that rubbish.
All this type of thing.
But, people not to know because that's what they were told.
Yeah.
And you keep your distance, don't you?
But then also with my Jamaican side of my family, I wasn't really allowed to be in close connection with them because of my dad. And then I think also a big part of that was the cult would have had less control of me if I was too connected with my Jamaican side, my mother's side. Yeah.
What about now?
Now I do, but it's been very difficult because speaking out now, some of my family, I think, it's too much for them. They can't quite. Some of them perhaps are a little bit ashamed. I mean, to be honest, there are a lot of things which, when you start to speak out about this type of thing, which you start to realise you're going to experience, which you may not have thought you were going to experience before you wrote the book. And now in speaking out about it, I think they can't really handle a lot of it. They can't really handle me talking about this book, talking about the depth of what's happened to me. They have issues around that.
Have they read the book?
No. So it's been quite a lonely journey, and to be honest, I think, how can I say, it's like, I think the cult that I was in, they didn't expect me to come this far.
You've been battling.
Yeah, and expect me to come out by myself, do this by myself, no family support.
You're a strong man.
Yeah, they didn't expect me to do that.
But you don't have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, but I don't really want to talk too much about them. I don't want to...
Yeah, but how many do you have, brother?
I'd rather not say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather not say that. Because basically, most of the children, or the people who were in it from children and abused, when they've kind of got to adulthood, they haven't been usually mentally together like myself to come out and like speak out and take on like the negativity of people saying, oh, you're lying, or you're doing this, or so in a sense I'd rather not.
Did your mother have more than one child?
She did, yeah, she did.
Do you see some of these children now?
I don't.
No.
I mean, some of them committed suicide, so yeah, I don't.
So how do you feel about yourself, particularly where you are now, in terms of going forward? Because basically, you apart from the individuals that you've met, you've spoken with, who can actually align with your experience, because the spiritual journey is not an easy one.
No.
For anyone.
Yeah.
And to be caught up in a cult. I mean, because I was linking racism. With some similar.
Okay.
Because as a child, you're exposed to racist practices.
Yeah.
And it's not until you get to a certain age that you begin to ask questions. But why? In terms of why do white people have more than black people?
Okay.
And that's a start in terms of your journey of that's trying to find out how this thing of racism was actually established.
Yeah.
But who I was before that. Yeah. So that's been part of my journey.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was exposed to racism at birth, like a lot of people in the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's right.
But coming here and going through the experiences that I've gone through, I've learned a lot more about myself, my roots, my culture, my people.
Yeah.
And the history of what has happened to us.
Yeah. And
what I feel I need to do to stand above all that crap.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
I say crap, but it's a lot more than that. Because it's how the religion, the education, the food, everything has, created you.
Yeah.
And you've got to get yourself, it's like, rings have been pulled around you, you've got to get out of it.
Yeah, to pull out of that.
Yeah. And when you come out of it, then you're still with the people around you who were, you know, supporting you. Do you know what I mean? And keeping you in that
bubble.
That state.
Yeah.
And now you're out of it. Well, how do you live your life? How do you go forward?
Yeah.
Spiritually, you have a strength.
Yeah.
But there will be people around you who will be pulling you down, pulling you back, rejecting you, and all of that.
Right. Yeah.
How are you going to go forward?
Yeah. And to be honest, I think writing the book is the start. Speaking out is kind of been the start. Yeah. I mean, going forward, I'm trying to be as positive as I can, and then kind of use my time to do things which are positive and uplifting for myself and other people. So at the moment I'm teaching dance. I'm also performing when I can as well, and then I'm studying spirituality and studying kind of African spirituality. To be honest, studying all kind of spirituality, but trying to I feel like I've kind of come back to my kind of roots and who I am kind of spiritually, which is in kind of venerating my mother, to be honest, and her kind of positivity, and trying to do positive things to uplift myself and uplift others. So that is kind of my foundation of what I want to do. So how am I doing that? At the moment I'm also teaching flexibility and mobility for health and longevity. And then I'm teaching that along with meditation. So I teach that online, and those particular modalities or practices, they help our health. And if we're not kind of together physically, to be honest, if we're not together spiritually and mentally, it's difficult to get together physically, but we need to keep our physical body together as well. And those things really help. They help with our health. And so I've been very much kind of promoting myself in helping other people with their health. Yeah, so that going forward has been a very good positive foundation for me to have, which kind of keeps me grounded in being a positive person and a healthy person. And to be honest, that's, I think, is the basis of what everyone needs in their life, in terms of, and especially the youth kind of going forward. They need to have like good health physically, but then also to be mentally and spiritually together, try and spread peace and love instead of negativity. But at the same time, we can't always be love and light, because that's kind of not balanced. And when you have kind of negative spiritual people trying to manipulate you, you have to kind of call them out. And in doing that, it's like you can't be all, you can be peaceful. You don't, I mean, I'm not advocating violence, but at the same time, you have to take on the fact that you're going to be angry, and you shouldn't think that anger is a bad thing, because that anger you can use to channel you in a positive direction in dealing with people. So I think I've become a lot more balanced as a result, and a lot better at, I mean, I'm still learning, of course. With life, we're always learning. Coming here and speaking with you, I didn't think I was going to be crying. I just didn't think I was going to have the experience I had, So I always have a lot to learn, from people around me, from you, speaking with you today, and seeing your approach to things that you say. So life is like a learning journey. So I'm open
lifelong learning.
Yeah, lifelong learning. So I'm completely open to doing that, and I think everyone should be. But the way society is that they tell you, you go to college or study, and then that learning stops at like maybe 21 or something like that. And society kind of pushes that, and then pushes us to be asleep to who we really are.
A lot of people behave that way.
Yeah.
They think once they've left school or college, there's nothing more to learn.
That's right. Yeah, but the thing
Got
is,
all these books.
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is, society, I think, pushes us being asleep to who we really are, because then the people at the top can control us much more easily, and then keep us divided. So, to be honest, things like racism, they're like a clever tool, I think, of the people at the top to keep everyone fighting each other, so that they will never look at changing the system.
It's all planned.
Yeah.
What makes you smile? What makes you laugh?
Smile. Definitely dancing, being humorous, joking around, good food, good Jamaican food. That makes me smile. Sorrel drinks, sea moss drinks. That makes me smile. And dancing, and then just kind of connecting with other people, having like a real like good, wholesome, positive connection. Like coming and speaking with you today, and the positivity which you kind of brought in being able to like have a dialogue with me, that kind of makes me smile. It lifts my spirit. So
good.
Yeah, it's really uplifting. So although I come here and I cry, these other things make me smile. So it's a learning curve, because I didn't think that would necessarily happen today. I didn't really think that would happen. I didn't think I'd be smiling in that way at all. So it's a learning journey, life.
What is the influence you had writing your book? Who are the authors that influenced you, or you inspired you, or you used in the process of writing your book?
Authors. Okay. That's a very good question. To be honest, really my mum, I think. My mum kind of inspired me. My mum's not a writer. I wouldn't really say, because it's like a real life story, I wouldn't say, and it's my first book I've written, I wouldn't say I've been inspired by other authors in that way, and I haven't read up on other spiritual cults or so. When I started writing this book, I hadn't done a lot of research into other spiritual cults or spiritual abuse or religious abuse. I just kind of felt I need to put the story out there. So coming to writing, it's a completely new thing, man. It's not a place I ever thought I would be in. I never actually thought I was going to be an author. I never thought I'd be here talking with people, or I was ever going to write a book in my life. This is all completely new from 2020, and then seeing it as a way to get a message out. So a book, I suppose it very much is, in a way, is something that can be used, as they say, as the pen is more powerful than the sword. So in that sense is kind of what drove me feeling like I had to write the book, I had to put it out there. So I wouldn't say other authors have kind of influenced me in that way as such. Writing was never something I ever thought I would do. To be honest, I actually got good at writing through going through homelessness and having to write to the council so many times to try and get accommodation and get a place which was not full of criminals, and have to deal with the council where there was actually criminal activity inside the council. So I got good at writing in trying to get around all of those types of issues, and that, to be honest, gave me the ability to write the book.
You need to write another one about criminal activities within councils.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, you could actually write a book about that.
It's a really good one.
Yeah,
Real bloody criminals.
Yeah, one example I actually gave in the book was in a paper in Islington, And that actually came out where the council, like a lot of people complained on a particular council estate that they were being harassed by drug dealers, and then the council took those names of the people who had reported to them, and then they gave them back to the drug dealers. And then the police had to come in to make sure that other people who lived there weren't going to be killed by the drug dealers who were moving around there. So yeah, it's been a long journey, finding all those things out, experiencing that, and coming out of that alive, and then physically together and mentally together has been a war.
One thing I wanted to ask, was there any sexual interference with you as a child going through those cults?
Yeah, of course, there was, and to be honest, I'm not really very confident in talking about that. Yeah, that is like, because someone actually asked me that about a week or two ago. They asked me, said, "Oh, you've written this book, and what was the sexual experiences that happened?" And then, at that point, I do talk about some of that in the book, but then, I recognised I don't know if I'm at a level to even or that I even want to, or that I even want to
come to terms with.
or that I even want to talk about everything, all those experiences.
Well, the thing is, you've got to come to terms with it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you've managed to done what you've done in the book.
Yeah.
That's bravery. That's a lot, and I think for boys, men who've been sexually abused, whether it's in prison or in, schools, boarding schools, wherever.
Yeah.
It does take time for them to come to terms with it, if ever. But that is something that certainly damages them as well. Yeah,
that's right, and it's taken a long time. I think that those experiences have taken me a long time to become kind of mentally together, to be able to, after my mother was murdered, I wasn't mentally together enough to string sentences together to speak to people. So now, now I'm having conversation with you, but to be able to speak without breaking down after one sentence, I couldn't do. That took a number of years, maybe
There's
15
still a lot
years.
more to do, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's still a lot more to do.
Yeah, there's still more to do. There's still kind of more healing to do. But kind of what I recognised is that even the so-called healers out there, they can't handle it. They don't want to, or they can't handle dealing with the things I want to talk about. So the world is in a very strange place in that sense.
Which healers have you approached, actually? Because to
be honest, I've approached counsellors. I've approached people, counsellors I've approached, and then I approached people in the mental health, just like the NHS, this type of thing. And that was a big, I really shouldn't have done that, because that almost led me to almost, that was soul destroying. That almost led me to wanting to commit suicide again, and finding it hard to pull out of that, going to like the NHS and the counsellors or the people that they put in place to try and help you.
Have you had culturally appropriate counselling support?
And then that's another thing, because basically when I was starting to come out of that, I was approached by counsellors who would be either connected to the cult or connected to friends of my dad who were connected to cults. It was from an intuition and gut feeling perspective, I recognised that I shouldn't actually go to anyone and that I have to do all this healing myself. Because it became dangerous where you're going to go to counsellors who are connected to the cult or connected to evil people, so they're going to lead you in a direction which is to go back to the cult and to actually see yourself as evil. So it's been a long journey, kind of healing by myself, but I've enjoyed coming to talk with you today.
Can you tell us a bit of the writing process? How long it took you to write your book, and also you self-publish, right?
Self-published,
and then who published?
I self-published it online.
Who published? What's the name?
Amazon.
What's the name of your publisher?
Yeah, I published it through Amazon. So yeah, Amazon Books, Amazon Online. So the book is actually sold on the internet through Amazon. And yeah, the writing process, that took me from the lockdown in 2020 to 2023. Because yeah, it was a lot of information to process, and then I didn't have an editor. So I had to kind of do everything, correcting of it myself. And yeah, it took me quite a long time. I was hoping to get it actually done by about 2021, but going through and processing all the past, that took years.
That was healing.
Yeah, it was healing.
Doing. You had to do that before you could put it down.
Yeah, and it's allowed me to go on that kind of healing journey and go through that kind of healing process, and that it's uplifted me, and it's given me a lot more of a positive outlook, so I can come and speak with you now and feel positive about it, whereas before I wrote the book I was not really so positive in myself, or even positive in speaking with other black people. So that was all kind of negated. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a very positive journey. So although I've cried during this kind of presentation, it's also very healing. It's healing to be able to come and speak with you, and it's uplifting for me, and I'll go home feeling more healed through doing it.
I hope you also feel a bit better as well, because Jean and I, we're part of two organisations. I'm a director of what we call the Garvey Village, which is an organisation that's been going for 7 years. And our aim is to have a centre where we offer African people support.
Yeah.
And it's from pregnant mothers right through to the elderly and everybody in between.
Yeah.
I won't go into the detail. Give them a flyer. Have you got a flyer?
I've got a leaflet.
One of the things that we do on a fortnightly basis is to offer counselling support to our community. And this will carry on when we have our building.
Yeah.
But we felt that there was a lot of people who were experiencing a lot of pain, a lot of trauma that we've gone through. Yeah. Not necessarily what you've particularly gone through, but our own journey, our journey as an individual human being, trying to come to terms with all the negativity and all the toxicity that we've been exposed to as African people, from the motherland to the Caribbean to here and everywhere. Okay, so we have on a Tuesday evening from 7:30 to 9:30 a 2-hour
Monday.
On a Monday. Should I say Tuesday? I'm sorry. Monday evenings, fortnightly, mind therapy group, which is African people who come together and share whatever is going on for them. So we may have 10, we may have 20 people on the platform. So it depends who want to speak. And people who are listening can either offer advice, ask questions to help them. Offload. But the idea is to have a private, confidential setting for people, because one of the agreement is that what's discussed there stays there. So people come and they offload, or they talk about what they're going on at work, in their home, in their whatever. And so that's an offer that we give to our council. Now, one of the people who is in partnership with the CEO of this organisation, who they offer counselling support on an individual basis. So from the group session, if you wanted to have a one-to-one, you can actually contact this organisation for your own counselling support. And so, you can have at no cost, is it? No, it's no cost. And for X number of weeks, and if you want to go on longer, then you negotiate an extra time, whatever. But this is something that I think would be a benefit.
That's very kind of you. Thanks so much. That's you. That's really, really nice. Thanks so much.
And I'm sorry. Sorry. This is part of the organisation that I'm a director of.
Thanks so
And
much.
the other organisation is the Auntie Jean African Culture Market, which is this lady here, and that's been going for 10 years. So she, out of the African Culture Market, which she used to facilitate, she used to provide on a monthly basis. People, she'd invite different individuals and come and speak, people like yourself who've written a book and come to share. One of them was Sankofa, who's written books on Africa, being a Rastafarian, etc. And his launch was at Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. So Makonnen, that's right. So different people come and share. We have stalls, we have food, we have entertainment, drummers, African drummers, and that's once a month. And our idea is to bring our people together. We need to bring our people together. We need to heal. We need to be able to uplift ourselves. We need to be able to understand what has happened to us in terms of us as African people, the original people of the planet. And notwithstanding all that you've gone through at various cults, because there are various cults around, and people get seduced by different things. So, you know, evil is alongside good, you know, it's the duality of life. However, it's an opportunity, as I said, for us to come together and to share and to support each other the best way we can. So
very kind of you.
the last the last market was last Sunday. Did we have? And we have somebody talking about health. And the next one is going to be on the
20th of April.
20th of April.
Okay.
And have you got one of those?
See in the middle of his presentation is still.
Both of them. If you give us the one we've got.
Oh, you're talking about
Pie.
King Pie.
And Omawale.
Omawale is a different event celebrating Malcolm X.
So we've got two events coming up. The next one is the African Culture Market is on this date.
You got some of these pepper pie?
Not yet.
Can I get one as well?
Yes.
This one is on King Pie. I've never heard of King Pie. I don't know if you've heard of King Pie.
I have.
You have. Yeah. So what happens at our African Culture Market? We have a group of people called Revolutionary Minds. They're poets.
The Garvey Village Poets.
Sorry.
The Revolutionary Minds is the section that they use.
Okay, so the Garvey Village Poets. We have a group of poets. We're under the Garvey Village banner. And they come. What they do, they identify an ancestor, a hero, a shiro, a warrior from our culture, from our people. They study them for a month, and then they write poetry or song or something about the individual that they've studied, and they come and produce it, perform it at the market. Okay. We've studied many different people. Marcus Garvey, Ashby Garvey, Patrice Lumumba, Toussaint Louverture. Come on, June, help me. A long list of people. And it's another way of educating our people about our ancestors and the people who've actually worked to bring us to where we are today in terms of, you know, opposing oppression.
That's very kind of you. One thing I would actually say is that the last thing that happened to me in just before I wrote the book and coming out and speaking out was that the healers who were around me actually tried to say that my connecting with my ancestors or having dreams of my mum and feeling that I was energetically connected to her and that she was kind of pushing me to do this. They tried to say that that was all mad, and then I was kind of completely...
You are your mother. You are your ancestors. You are your father.
She's talking through you.
Your mother is there with you. Do you know what I mean? All the time. Yeah. So for me, that is totally wrong.
And that's healing.
So anyway, so next event we will be focusing on this King Pie. So I'm going to find out who this King Pie is, what he did. The last person we did was Fela Kuti's mum. Do you know Fela Kuti?
Fela Kuti is a musician.
Musician.
Yeah.
His mother, who was
Famileo Ransome
Kuti. That's it. So, I was told today that I've got a short memory. Well, at my age, I'm not surprised. Anyway, that's the next person that we're going to be studying. And if anybody can recite their poem. So if you feel inclined to write something and you wish to perform it, if you come, that is.
Okay.
You'll be very welcome.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Yeah. And on Jean and I, again, being part of an organisation, because trying to do things, trying to move people forward, you can't do it on our own. We have got to collaborate with others, which Peppercorn will be doing for many, many years. So we're collaborating with a group of people, and the list of people is on the back here, to celebrate the centenary of birth of Omowale Malcolm X, which is going to be on the 17th of May. Alongside that, we'll also be celebrating Vance Fanon and Patrice Lumumba. Because they'd also be their centenary. They were born in the same year.
Okay.
So if you've got time and you'd like to come to that would be wonderful. It's going to be held in southwest London.
Okay.
At a school. We're hiring a school for the day, and there'll be stalls and food and entertainment. And on the back you'll see who's going to be involved. Brother Leader Mandaka will be involved. You're probably there at your school, probably. Have you contacted you? If you need a store.
For the 17th.
She's Sister Lincoln's daughter.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fine. Lovely.
Well, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for listening to me.
I want a copy of your book as well.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Can you take book card?
Yeah, we can.
Do a card payment.
So my brother
Lovely to meet you all.
Yeah.
So you're just doing the final words.
You're writing the book.
Huh?
Papa is doing the closing remarks.
Okay.
It's part of the healing journey. And you make a good start. There's no extra much about you. And you come in to share with us. Unfortunately, not many of us have showed up.
Quality.
We were here, really admire you. I like to say that you've come through. And you could have sing.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So, we salute you on that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Well done.
Thank you. And thanks very much for coming and speaking with me and taking the time to listen to what I have to say. It's been very healing for me, and I've really kind of enjoyed listening to you and taking in your kind of positive energy. It's been really helpful, very healing for me. So thanks very much.
Embrace the dreams that your mum is sending you.
Yeah, that's very
And
good
take
advice.
heed and try and remember,
Yeah, I try to do that.
because
every
she's
night.
guiding you.
Yeah,
And
constantly
she's
try to
there
do that.
basically saying that she's there with you. If you have a lot of dreams of her, she's saying to you, I'm
Yeah.
here with you, I'm here for you.
Yeah,
And
and
you can speak to her as well. So don't feel no way that you're going mad or anything. You can speak
Yeah.
to her and light a candle.
I actually do that.
Yeah.
I try and do that daily, and I actually talk about that in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
May your healing progress, you know.
Oh yeah, thanks so much. Thanks a lot. Bless
Have
you
you
all.
got family?
No, my family are very divided, so the Jamaican side of my family don't really speak to me. They actually see this kind of side as demonic. So they see the idea that
Are they still very much in the church?
yeah, very much.
Explains it.
So the idea that you'd speak to your mum, or that your mum would guide you energetically, and that you'd intuitively feel you're going in the right direction to write this book from her energy, they would say is kind of demonic. So that's it's, and then the African side of my family is mostly evil. So that side I just stopped speaking to at all. And to be honest, my mum always kind of knew that. So there was always like this war if any kind of African person from my father's side of the family came to the house.
But the Jamaican side is they're quite private and secretive, and you're putting stuff into a book, it reveals, and basically it reveals things that they don't want to know or look at or know that's actually happened. This doesn't happen to my family, so you know, nothing to do with it, because they don't want anybody else to know what's happened in their family, even though it's not directly them, but she's a member of the family.
It's shame.
Yeah, very much. I feel like you're
kind
right.
of proud people.
Yeah, very much. But also, I think with Jamaican people, what I've noticed myself is that one or two of my relatives, they have